Aw yeah, Mother. It has a bit of a confusing history if you're not in the know. Long story short, the first entry in the Mother series was released all the way back in 1989 on the NES. Or rather, the famicom, considering it never came here in the States. Which is ironic considering that the game takes place in America. It was re-released as a port to the GBA in 2003, along with Earthbound. But this was also Japan exclusive. It wasn't until the Wii U that we actually get to play the game in 2015, and again on the Switch in 2022. However, these ports do have some censorship changes, so instead, I wanted to play the Tomato English translation for the GBA port. For this video, I'd like to detail my blind playthrough, my frustrations, my shock, and genuine laughs as we play the game. Alright, enough intro padding. Let's go. First off, we get to name this boy. Not enough characters for my name. Perfect. And as a bit of an early game spoiler, we get to name our upcoming friends as well, but I'll keep them as they are, for now. And then the game asks for our favorite food, pizza. Which topping? Yes. Then we get an exposition dump. A married couple mysteriously vanished. Their names? George and Maria. George came back after some time and engrossed himself in some strange research. As for Maria, she never returned. We cut to the year 1988, outside the town called Mother's Day, or Padunk for the official translation. We take control of our boy, Niten, short for Nintendo, but I named him Lactic, so I'm gonna go with that for this video. As I prepare to leave, oh my god, we get ambushed by a random lamp from the start. The simplistic black screen and white font was inspired by Dragon Quest, and you can also use an auto attack system. Afterwards, we inspect the other rooms and see our sister getting attacked by a doll. Ugh, they creep me out. Also, why is this one naked? Upon defeating it, we're granted a level up, and we get to see which stat goes up by what number. Honestly, I'm gonna sing the praises right now. This is a very efficient way to introduce gamers to the relatively new JRPG genre. I mean, you battle and level up within the first couple minutes, more than I can say for certain other titles. After the battle, our plucky protagonist discovers a music box in a doll. A tune then plays with a cool psychedelic background, and we learn a melody. They're not attacks or anything like that. You can see in the menu that you have to collect 8 of them. I go downstairs and see a phone that we can interact with. We call up our dad, and he assumes the attack on our house was a poltergeist. He mentions that our grandfather was studying PSI, and his research is in the basement. But the door to it is locked, and the key is hidden outside where our dog tells us to use the check option on them. Now that we're in the basement, we see that there's presents to open. Yep, they're contemporary versions of treasure chests. We find a diary too, but most of it is gibberish, save for a password. Where is the god's tale, that which was left behind, by the ship that soars the heavens? Whatever, Grandpa. I'm equipping this bat and bashing some rats. Ow! He bit me! Now that we're done here, our sister acts as storage, and our mom feeds us our favorite food, pizza! You can call up your dad again and see that he hoards all the money we earn from battles. And he asks us to save. And interestingly, I'm aware of the spiel that occurs each time you save in Earthbound despite never playing it, and this father seems to repeat that word for word. Now we get to explore the overworld. I start following the trail and, a redneck's attacking me? Well, this is America. I wanted to confirm how true this translation was. Of course, the official translation he's named Wally. In the companion guide, he was named Oji-san, which can mean old man or uncle. We face some normal enemies like this snake, a centipede with a cool pose.
Come at me, bro.
And check out this smoking crow. See, this is why I wanted the GBA port. You know this wouldn't slide in early Nintendo years. And then we face a hippie. What's up with the music? It's pretty catchy too. And this guy uses a megaphone to attack.
You're a disgrace to your mom and she smells like elderberries.
I ran into the redneck again, and this time he became furious and boosted his attack, thus knocking me out.
Lactic. Looks like you had your head handed to you.
Yeah, I guess you can say that's a family-friendly way of saying he handed me my ass. Oh god, you meant literally. To my surprise, you don't get a hard reset when you die. You just go back to where you last saved with your items at XP intact. I follow the main path, and I see a hysterical mother asking us to tell the mayor about her missing child. Nearby, we visit the town and come across a mouse in a house. They give us a good tip too. Houses in towns with round doors or signs can be entered. which helps because the game does a good job in creating that suburban American feel. As I talk to the neighborhood gossip, I see they're talking about someone controlling the dead at a nearby cemetery. Someone even asks us straight up, "Are we a zombie?"
Yes.
Oh yeah? Well, you're a big stupid zombie head.
My head isn't a zombie. I stumble into a building where the mayor resides, and instead of helping the distraught mother, he tells us to go rescue the missing girl. Apparently she's straight into the cemetery down south. Also, later on, I found out the game's art style is actually inspired by Peanuts. The sprites do a pretty good job in conveying that art style, and I looked into it because of this girl. She looks like Marcy, and she tells us that we can make a crumb trail out of bread. Also, the department store is where you can take out cash from an ATM and call your dad to save. Honestly, the department store makes me feel nostalgic, mostly because it reminded me of the Celadon store in Pokemon Red and Blue. It's nice to have a store offer different goods per floor. I was excited and checked out each offering for drugs, equipment, and a canary. I didn't have the money for it on hand, so I said no, but then he gave it to me for free. Cool. I checked out its info and it describes it as having a lonely look in its eyes. Then, I tried to eat it.
Please don't do that.
As I head out to the journey, I head further down talking to everybody as I go when suddenly, zombie! An NPC ambushes us, but they're quickly dispatched and returned to dust. I venture further out and headed south until the trees began to change. We've reached the cemetery. I was looking for the girl, but came across a bunch of birds frolicking in the open. I see a guy nearby to talk to, and he mentions the canary we have. It belongs to Laura. Who's Laura? I don't know, but nearby there's this different color effigy, and it was creeping me out. I tried interacting with it in multiple ways, until finally I accidentally discovered that you can walk through the wall behind it. And there, I found Laura. So I used the baby from our inventory, and Laura becomes so relieved that she sings. A new melody was acquired, but I still had to find the missing girl. I finally came across this hole between all the tombstones, so I climbed inside it, and it leads to coffins. Dear God, the simple black and white sprites add to the scary aesthetic. Opening up the wrong coffins lead to battles with zombies, but the third time was the charm, and I found Pippy. She asks us, "Are we brave?"
No.
I hope we meet again, don't you?
No.
I guess you already have someone special, huh?
No.
Pippy joins us as an extra party member that can help us out in combat.
Oh no.
So I head back to the mayor, and as a politician, he takes the credit for the rescue. But he does reward us $100. And he gives us another task. A zoo is having some issues with animals going wild. So now it's up to us to figure it out. And to my dismay, Pippy leaves our party. But she says that if we stop by her place, she'll give us an item. By the way, do you think her socks are too short?
Silly. You didn't need to answer that.
Now here's a fun fact. I followed the path towards the zoo and got lost. My problem was that I was following the dirt road a bit too closely, so I walked right past the entrance of the zoo without knowing it. I ended up exploring these cliffs and I didn't know the start button functioned as a map. But since this is a blind playthrough, my dumbass kept hugging the edges hoping to find items or somewhere new to explore.
Spoilers, there wasn't.
Which is a shame because this game has a lot of open areas you can easily get lost just exploring. Eventually I stumbled upon Pippy and her mom close to my house. She gives us the acclaimed Franklin badge. If you played Smash Brothers, then you probably already know that it reflects projectile attacks. I then finally found the monkey in front of the zoo and... Hey, I'm not a doo-doo head. Nope, I'm not editing my head in doo-doo for this joke. It then steals our key and rushes in the zoo, but the lock is broken, so let's just go inside. There are still some animals inside of the exhibits, and thankfully the layout is a lot more straightforward compared to the cemetery. As we explore, I get accosted by a bunch of hyenas, crocodiles which, hey, it says to turn down an alligator's dinner invitation. But this is a crocodile, so I guess one date is fine, right? And man, that tiger sprite is actually pretty intimidating. At the end of the zoo, we come across the manager's office building. Inside, the music gets creepier, and at the highest floor, we come across a room with a strange floating capsule inside. We check it, and... aw, it's just a little guy. It's clearly small, but still an alien. Anyways, one smash hit is all it took to take him out. Upon defeat, the sound driving the animals crazy stops, and the music finally relaxes as the random encounters come to a sudden halt. On the way out, we see the same monkey from before. If you check the sign, it mentions that it's a singing monkey. Oh yeah, collecting these melodies will be a breeze. At this point, I didn't actually know where to go. I went back home hoping for some hints, but ended up using my sister for more storage. Please don't take that out of context. I went back to town thinking the mayor will tell me where to go next, but he doesn't. He just makes a joke and doesn't even give us a reward for saving the zoo. What a cheapskate. Eventually, I came across a cave with a weird structure at the end. I didn't know what to do for a bit, but when I checked it, it says a voice was speaking in my head. Telepathy is an option from the menu, so when I used it, it finally speaks to me.
Where is the god's tail?
And this is where I realized I needed the diary, something I left with my sister back at home. So I had to make a quick trip back and forth. And with the diary on hand, we were mystically transported to the land of Magicant. There's a ton of homes and a bunch of NPCs to check out. This one is good at impressions, and also functions as calling our dad to use as a save point. There's a lot of cool dialogue and special items to come across. For example, someone asked if I want an ocarina, and by answering yes, they just give it to us. If you use it, it plays the melodies we collected so far, but then there's an instrument shop that closed down because the ocarina they ordered never arrived. No, you can't give it back. Sorry. For brevity's sake, we move on to the Queen's Castle up north. Or we would, if we can solve this toad-looking NPC's riddle. It was tricky, but ultimately the way to solve this riddle is by using telepathy. That's right, the answer is 2 alligators. But they haven't thought up the question yet. That's it, I hope you get invited to dinner.
Oh no!
We enter the castle and get to meet the Queen. She welcomes us and tells us that everyone in Magicant is our friend. But we ask her to sing her song, and she can't remember it. To elaborate further, one of the NPCs outside her chambers tells us about her nightmares. The Queen talks like she's punishing a naughty kid, then she cries out in fear. She starts to sing a song, but only a short bit of it. The fact that she can't remember makes her wake in cold sweat. So it's pretty clear that we're collecting these melodies for the Queen. So I try to find the exit, and long story short, I wandered around for a long time until I found this well. Jump down to traverse a dark dungeon with multiple fake out paths, and also take out the different eye emojis that jump us down here. There's also a sleeping dragon, but I can't wake it. Yet. You do collect a handy item called the Onyx Hook. It can be used to transport back to Magicant at any time. I find the exit, but it's blocked by someone called Nowhere Man. I didn't know what his deal was, but you have to keep talking to him, and eventually he asks if we're a forgotten man too.
No.
Good, now hurry up and ignore me.
No.
Actually, you do need to ignore him so he can disappear. Freaky. Now we get to explore a different section of the world. I slowly approach a building and step inside to see a bunch of students. It's a school. So I do the usual thing of going into every room and talking to everyone. This little fella's playing Dragon Quest IV. I talk to a nurse who warns me about catching colds, and by talking to her, I do indeed catch her cold. Now I'm taking damage in the overworld. Damn nurse. Anyways, I found a janitor, and he asked me a slew of questions. Isn't it terrible that his wife never packs him a lunch, and that she's getting fatter and fatter? After venting, he offers to lead us towards the rooftop. I like how he stops us just to let us know that his wife was the first little Miss Middle of Nowhere. We check out the rooftops and see a shaking trash can, and here we meet Lloyd. He wants us to collect a bottle rocket from a factory south of here. I go to the hospital to cure this stupid cold.
First, show me some money. Then I'll heal you.
Damn, Japan had this American thing down. Thankfully, the factory was only infested with rats, and I find the bottle rocket in the trash can, like Lloyd. So I go back to him, and he leads us to the science lab. He stops a couple of times and acknowledges that he gets bullied a lot. He gets called weakling, wimpy, and so forth. And once we make it inside the lab, he uses the fuel from the rocket to... Not gonna say anything? Oh, is he in my team? Whatever, I'm just glad I have someone to help out. I followed these train tracks up to a rock blocking the path. I do remember someone in town mentioning that they'd blow it up with a rocket from a Duncan factory, so I kept exploring until I found a random pass item on the floor. It appears to be someone's employee ID. The random encounters are getting tougher at this point, and Lloyd starts at level 1. So he was power leveling for a bit while Lactic took out Barbots and Saucers. We also got attacked by sentient vehicles, and man, I love the music that plays. Even the game recognizes how silly these random encounters can be. Unfortunately, Lloyd does die with frustrating frequency.
Wimp.
So I constantly kept going back in town to revive him at the hospital. After some time, we reached the proper factory, where a dog is waiting for us to present the pass. Uh-oh, it's expired, and now the dog does a little jig and attacks. Alright, in and out, quick 5-minute journey.
Hey, who are these weirdos? Ow! Leave me alone, you creepy doctor.
Oh, yeah, he actually left me alone, he ran away. This factory was frustrating. The layout is similar throughout. Ladders go up and down without reason. There are several rooms to check out, and sure they have items, but it's really easy to lose your ground here. The repeating pattern and no real way to discern which floor you're on was really frustrating. Meanwhile, Lloyd needed healing after nearly every encounter. Thank God Lactic knew PSI healing spells. I do find some bombs and bottle rockets, and I see that they're items that only Lloyd can use. I realize that he's meant to be the metaphorical ninja role of the game. As I go through my items, I see I have some bread, and I remember Marcy telling me about using breadcrumbs as a trail. I was getting lost, so screw it, why not use it? Nothing happened. At first I thought I messed up. Did it glitch? Is it just impossible to see the crumbs on this floor? You'll find out when I do. Eventually I found the rocket. Lloyd speaks up finding a switch, so he flips it and off it goes.
Lloyd, what did you do?
Shut up, game, I'm talking to Lloyd. I went back to where the rock was and saw the rocket had blown it out of the way. The path leads to a train station. When you talk to the person inside, they mention that major panics are breaking out everywhere. Because of this, the ticket vendor can't guarantee this train will go very far, but we still gotta pay. And we're given the option to go visit a few more cities. I picked the first town on the list, and I like this. When you take the train, you see it actually travel to that town in real time. Right here, is the train moving or the background? At the news station, I talked to an old lady who asked if we're going to Snowman, and if we are, deliver this hat to a girl named Anna. So I explored the town of Reindeer a bit, and everyone just seems to be urging me to go to Snowman to deliver the hat. But then I ran into Bag Lady. She has a body like a refrigerator and a heart of ice. Ouch, this game's a little harsh. Also, I found a guy willing to sing. Ooh, is it a new melody?
Fallacies, fallacies.
And I come across this guy who tells me to hold on to his money, and if I see any cops, tell them I didn't see anything. Okay, dude, it's a freaking precursor to that random event in Skyrim.
Did you see someone run past just now?
So I go into the store hoping to find some new weapons or even armor, and ooh, a death laser. But I'm at my capacity already. So I go through my items, and you can see the exact moment where I see the breadcrumbs in my inventory, and everything starts to click inside of my zombified head. After some prep up, I take the train again and head towards Snowman to deliver the hat. After getting jumped by a pack of silver wolves,
No.
we come across a church. Inside, a girl tells us that she dreamt of us. I had a hunch that this was Anna, so I handed her the hat from the inventory. She wants us to help her find her mom, who's in the town of Easter, or Youngstown for the official English version. She goes up to her dad and tells him that she's off, and that she's bringing her mother back. And now we have 3 people in our party. Unfortunately, Anna's also at level 1, and knowing that I was going to be in and out of the hospital unless I grind properly, I decided to use the Onyx hook and go back to Magicant. I wanted to take out the low level mobs there, that should be easy for us. And to my surprise, there are items here to grab. A cat gives us candy for weaklings only.
Lloyd?
And then there's someone who gives us a ribbon for a girl. The ribbon's not an item to equip. Both the candy and ribbon are consumables for stat increases. As I go back through my footage, I realize that the musician I talked to gives strong hints to where to find the melodies. This is pretty cool. This JRPG does so many things right so early on in gaming history. It honestly shocked me. After a while, we made the trek to Youngstown. Along the way, we came across a hotel with a weird looking dude. Turns out, they're a star man. By using the hotel as a landmark, I was able to find the town of Halloween, or Spookane if you want the official title. I meet a woman that is trying to charm me, and gives me a key to a haunted house. It's further up north, so screw it, let's go check it out. Oh yeah, I bought a ruler. It measures things. Not really though, it's just there for the giggles, hehe. Once inside, I talk to the first thing I see. A suspicious rat he is not. The room with the piano. And of course the place is populated with ghosts. These ghosts call in more ghosts when they're alarmed, but just when I thought I was about to get overwhelmed, they simply ran away.
Cowards.
But as we explore, a voice abruptly speaks.
This is a nightmare. A bad dream you'll never wake up from.
There's a lot of doors leading to staircases that lead to more doors with more stairs, and ultimately, dead ends. Meanwhile, the bats here can turn us into stone, so that was an extra element of danger to watch out for. Then there's this guy, Bloody Zombie. I checked it out in battle and the description reads that it looks scary on the outside, but its final attack is even scarier. And then it uses a desperation attack on Lactic and knocks him out in one hit. Now it's just Lloyd and Anna. I was still confident though, so I kept pushing through.
Anna, you're gonna die.
That was genuinely spooky. The voices even get angrier the deeper inside we explore. But we prove these spooky specters wrong by finding the piano. A new melody was acquired. It was a close shave, but we escaped the haunted house and went back to town. The people who gave me the key compliment our bravery, and they even renamed our son after me. Hi, Lactic. This part of the game kinda sucked though because the town here lacked a proper way to revive teammates. I had to stumble my way back to the train, and soon Anna was knocked out next. Thankfully, Lloyd was able to pull through and bring us back to his hometown to resurrect us.
You're not so bad. For a wimp.
And embarrassingly, this was the part of the game where I finally found out that the start button brings up a map. There seems to be an area beyond the train station, with dots acting as landmarks. So, following it, I decided to explore and came across a desert. The enemies around here are a lot tougher now. There are literal androids after us, and they can pack a punch. Jane here smiles to raise her defense to absurd levels, forcing me to use Anna's PSI attacks. And then there's robots that explode upon defeat, dealing damage to everybody. And then I found this.
I'm a nice guy's corpse. Don't worry, I won't attack you or anything like that.
Okay. As I get closer to the black dot, I see an old man out in the open. He's got a plane and even a tank. He offers us a ride on his plane for cash and tells us that if we collect enough tickets, we can ride the tank. So of course, I pay to ride the plane. And like the train, we actually ride the vehicle around and watch him circle around this strange cactus. He pilots around the cliffs and hovers around what looks like a labyrinth too. So I take this as the game hinting at points of interest. So I go to the cactus. I had to use telepathy, and for some reason, it sang. It continued to sing with emotion. Aw yeah, melody collected. Then I headed over to that maze-like structure we flew over. R7037 attacks. I didn't realize he was a boss until he knocked me out in one hit. We were all only doing 1 point of damage anyways and couldn't run away. So, game over. But Lactic decided to return after summoning all the courage and energy he had. Now I understand why we need the tank. After collecting more tickets, we're given the privilege of riding the tank. I went back to the maze-like structure and faced the boss. We can reflect its own attacks back, and attacking fires the cannons at it. And soon enough, the boss was destroyed. Along with the tank. Oops. With the threat neutralized, we can explore further inside and see a hole to jump down into. And inside we see monkeys.
I'm a lady, you know. You shouldn't walk right up to me and speak so casually.
Okay, yeah, they're just yapping. At the end of the labyrinth, we come across the same structure that teleported us back to Magicant. I was confused, wondering why we were back here again, but when you leave, you see that we're actually at a new location. We were closer to the town of Easter/Youngstown now. We arrive and see that there's only kids here. Everybody's parents have disappeared. I look around trying to find some info on Anna's missing mom, but it's really sad to see the kids cry for their parents. One mentions seeing a big flying ship take all the parents away, and another says they can hear voices from the mountains. Inside one of the houses, there's a baby lying on the bed. The couple here says that it has strange powers, but all it does is goo goo gaga, at least until you use telepathy on it. Aw yeah, we learned how to teleport. There didn't seem much else to do in this town, so off to Valentine. Or LA if you want to be official about it. Spelled like this, by the way. Along the way to LA, I see a trash can shaking outside. It's Lloyd's father. He says that my dad asked for my name and if I gave him the right name. Honestly, I didn't know what he was talking about because I missed a certain event, But he gives us the option to put in our name, and for some reason we get many more characters now. Screw it, I'm putting in Go Galactic. Aw yeah. And there's also a house where inside we see Pippy. She offers us some free heals, which is good because, man, the mobs around this area are actually really tough even when you're overleveled. I also wasn't using Anna to her full potential. Unlike Galactic, she has powerful PSI attacks. As per usual, I was getting lost, and eventually a trio of crocs invited Anna and Lloyd to dinner. And again, there was no hospital, so I tried to teleport. Oh no. I spent a good amount of time trying to find a landing strip long enough for us to teleport. And it was just as annoying to teleport back for some reason.
Move out of the way, Grandma, or I'm sending you to Reindeer.
This swamp area is a bit of a speed bump, and I couldn't figure out the right path, so I decided now was the time to use those breadcrumbs. And it warped me back to Youngstown. What? Okay, so here's how bread works. You break it at the spot you want to warp back to. It doesn't make a literal trail. Man, I'm dumb, but it's good to know now how it works. It took a long time, but I finally found my way over to Valentine/LA. And the first person I speak to says to watch out for the BB gang. And the second person I speak to, well, I just got jumped by the BB gang. What's going on with his face though? Is that a mask or a shadow? If it's a mask, then that makes the cigarette far more impressive. Afterwards, I see that the old man from the desert is in front of a live house. He shakes us down for tank repairs money, which I promptly pay for because it's only like a couple $100. And I had like $3,700, thank you very much. And inside this club, we're not allowed in without tickets. Thankfully, someone is selling us tickets right outside for $1,200! This better be worth it. Once inside, I speak to someone who starts flirting with me.
You're so cute. Oh, your name is Lactic? Here, this beer's on me. Drink up.
Well then, don't mind if I do. Wait, is that a cop? Am I getting arrested? Oh god, I'm actually going to jail.
You look like you've been through a lot. Well, now you can sit back, relax, and regret it all.
No.
Now, do you regret what you did?
No.
Then you can spend another day in there to cool off.
No. So, Lactic's bat was confiscated, and I had to buy a new bat for $1,000. What a racket. So now I bought another ticket for $1,200. When you talk to the guy next to the stage, he'll ask if we want to perform. So of course, I say yes, and Lactic, Anna, and Lloyd do a little performance for everybody. At the end of the dance, someone suddenly storms inside and asks if we're the ones messing with his buddies. And now Lactic and the BB gang boss are thrown into a 1v1. We exchange blows for a few turns until the fight suddenly ends. The gang boss calls it a draw. His name is Teddy, and he wants to join our journey to go up in the mountains so he can avenge his parents. He joins our crew, but in the process, he kicks Lloyd out for being too wimpy. Oh god, he ate him. Teddy also takes Lloyd's items too, but he doesn't have any equipment. So I looked around for a shop. I make my way to the store and see that the show tickets I've been buying for $1,200 a pop are sold here for $350 each. This game sometimes. Unlike the others, Teddy doesn't start at level 1, he starts at 18. And thankfully, he packs a wallop. He's physically strong and was a lot of help on the tougher mobs around the area. I came across a resting point on the northeastern side of the map. And not too far off is Mount Etoy, the infamous final dungeon.
Also known as the Holy Lowly Mountains.
Almost every ROM hack or rebalance project aims to fix it for being too difficult and too confusing. I didn't know I entered the infamous locale at the time. I expected another warp to Magicant due to the cave layout. You'd think with how often I got lost, and as many twists and turns as cave have, I'd probably have a difficult time. But surprisingly, I found my way through easily. I just kept going left until I noticed that these two paths were hugging each other.
They called out to me.
And next thing you knew, I was in the cliffs. But the mobs here are relentless. You've got Starman coming after us, the brain in a jar that took several minutes to defeat, and these gargoyles that hit like a truck. They can also petrify while doing team-wide attacks. At first, I didn't notice the vines you can climb because the color blends in a little too well with the rock. Thankfully, there is a stump that's barely in view where you can see a vine sticking out, and from there, I knew I could climb up. I would have settled on yellow paint, but screw it. Mother 1 continues to be ahead of the curve from the 80s. There was one encounter that was pure bull though, and it wasn't these bulls. It was Titanian. His basic attacks cause confusion. I checked its description hoping for a hint, but all it says is, if you can beat this thing, you're incredible. But defeated I did. And I kept climbing up higher and higher until I came across another building. Thank God it's another rest stop. There was even a phone here so I could save the game. To my surprise, Teddy suddenly speaks up, asking if Lactic and Anna want to be alone. We're then by ourselves in the bedroom, and Anna asks, stay with her.
No.
But she insists we stay with her, and then we dance. After all that, she asks, do we like her?
No.
You're right. There's no time for that.
I know, I'm being a jerk. Don't worry, I did load back my save to say yes, and she's just glad that we like her back. Afterwards, Teddy barges in, asking why we're blushing so hard. But then, oh god, it's that giant nuclear robot again. I try to put up defenses with shields, but all our attacks do only 1 damage. And even with our buffs, he still knocks us out with a single hit. It's a scripted defeat. We 3 are left right outside. But Lloyd comes in, riding another tank, and he drops in to rescue us. We wake up in a random building, and I see that Teddy's injured lying in a bed. He says we can't win with brute strength alone, but we can bring peace to the world. Lloyd then steps up, saying that he might be a wimp, but he will help. And he tells Teddy to rest as Lloyd rejoins the group. Unfortunately, Teddy is out for good at this point. Man, I barely got to use him. I step outside the building and see that we're at the foot of Mount Etoy again. So, with Lloyd in my party, back up the mountains we climb. At this point, PSI powers pretty much handled whatever I needed. I'm sorry, Anna, I underestimated your game until the end. At the very top, I find this monument.
I didn't know it at the time, but this is your great-grandfather's gravestone, George.
A gem forms and speaks to us. They knew we would make it this far, and our great-grandmother Maria left behind 8 melodies for us. It then sings. I went further north, and saw the face of a cave covered up by more rocks. So I explored and checked around, hoping to find an item or some way to get through the obstruction. I couldn't find anything for a long while, so I backtracked back to the rest stop, and shortly after leaving it, how did I not notice this pier with this boat? Lloyd fixes up the boat, so we can sink in the bottom thanks to a nearby whirlpool. And now we're in this weird lab. The long pathways lead to a ladder, and at the top is a talking robot. Oh yeah, her name is Eve. She was made by George, Lactic's great-grandfather. She explains that George was taken to the ends of the universe and then returned back to Earth to protect us with the knowledge he gained. The glass breaks and we're forcibly taken up the whirlpool again, and now Eve is in our party. And thank God she's really effective. She can kill any enemy in 1 hit. If I wasn't so overleveled already, I would have farmed here. But I wanted to move on ahead, so I headed up north thinking she can clear the rocks. Everything was going well until a seemingly random encounter turned into that giant jerk robot attacking us again, R-7038XX. Him and Eve exchange blows while I try to support her by throwing up barriers. I even attempted to heal her, but sadly she isn't someone we can target, and after several turns, they both destroyed themselves. Eve explodes and takes down a robot in the process. In the overworld, we see her remains stuck in a cliff, but music emanated from her chest. We learn a new melody, but something else was there, a memory chip. I check on a cave and it's still covered up by a rock, and the fight right afterwards left both Anna and Lloyd knocked out. At this point of the game, Lactic had the ability to revive his teammates, but it costs a lot of power points, and I used up a lot of items while up in the cliffs. I wanted to go back and re-strategize anyways, so I decided to leave, not by backtracking, but by going to Magicant with the Onyx hook, which wasn't a big deal because the memory chip we got from Eve allows us to teleport right back to her. Even in death, she proves to be useful. I checked on the Queen, but she still says the same old thing about wishing she can remember her song, and I was missing exactly one melody. So I was going out the same old way through the dark dungeons, when I saw something just barely out of my view. The dragon! I completely forgot about it, and when I check on it, the dragon wakes up and says that no one can have this music sheet.
Urethra.
I like its eyes. At this point, the fight was pretty easy, but he was a lot sturdier than I expected. The dragon becomes tame after defeat, and when you talk to it again in the overworld, the dragon sings to us, and we learned the final melody. So back to the Queen I go, and all the collected melodies start to play one after another.
Ah, Gigas. I loved him as if he were my own child too. He would always wag his tail as a baby. I would sing him a lullaby, but then... Oh, George. This is your wife, Maria. I know you've been waiting. I'm on my way to join you in heaven now.
The Queen then disappears. The land of Magicant itself vanished without a trace. It was an illusion, born of Maria's consciousness. And then, almost eerily, we're brought back to the final area of Mount Etoy. The cave up ahead is now clear. So step forward, brave children, and endure this horribly shrill music playing. Ow, this was hurting my ears. Inside, we encounter this horrifying room filled with a bunch of capsules. You can clearly see there's people within them. We speak to the closest one, and the person there recognizes Anna. They can't be saved now, but the mothership is nearby. It brought them to this mountain, and we gotta deal with it first. So we head further into the back, and as we do, we're met with the impressive sight of this huge mothership rising from the dark abyss. Gigas attacks. Gigas does have a decipherable form. They're a slender, alien-esque creature wrapped in a bubblish-looking dome. When I checked his description, we hear a voice. It's Maria. She explains you can't win with brute strength alone, but the lullaby, maybe the song she used to sing to him, can stop Gigas. And each turn, Gigas speaks to us. Maria raised him when he was young. Meanwhile, George stole vital information from his home planet and was using it against the aliens. And now we're here to obstruct Gigas' plans. But he's willing to let us live, on the condition that we board the mothership with him.
No.
So Gigas curses us to die with the rest of the ugly Earth people, and we cannot grasp the full form of Gigas' attack. It's not available right away, but after a few turns, the option to run changes to sing, and so we sang. Anna heals up as Lloyd and Lactic sings. Gigas begs us to stop, but we keep singing. And each time we do, the melody becomes longer and longer, until finally...
How could I be defeated by this song? Someday, I will return and make you... Lactic, we will meet again.
We cut back to the mothership flying off as Lactic, Lloyd, and Anna watch. We get a montage of the ending where Anna and her mom reunites. Teddy recovered from his wounds and became a singer at the Livehouse. The abducted grown-ups return back to their kids, and Lloyd, Anna, and Lactic say their farewells. Lloyd got to be celebrated as a hero at his school, and we come back home to our mother. And as we lay down and drift off to sleep, we get a cast roll of all the characters we met in our journey. We get a final credits roll and end with us, the player, being thanked at the end. Oh, so that's why Lloyd's father asked for our name. And that's Mother 1, or Earthbound Beginnings. I do know that I missed a couple points of minor interest, but again, this was the blind playthrough. And now I do want to try out those ROM hacks and revamps since I know what I'm doing. Anyways, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm glad you're around for the ride. So long, and be strong.
This is your dad. I hate to wake you, but it might be just a little too soon to rest easy.